The success code, the hidden thinking pattern of the rich. You are currently living the sum total of every belief you have ever held as true. If you are not thrilled with your reality, you must realize that you are the architect of your own imprisonment. Stop arguing for your limitations. The truth is, you have been playing small, and your future self is watching this choice with either disappointment or pride. It is time to stop negotiating with your potential and start embodying the power you were born to command. Introduction. Let's be honest with yourself, you are tired of the cycle. You wake up, you go through the motions, and you hope for a different result while holding on to the exact same thoughts that created your current dissatisfaction. You are waiting for permission to change, waiting for a sign, or perhaps waiting for the right time. I am here to tell you. You are waiting for permission that no one is going to give you. That's your ego talking, trying to keep you safe in a comfort zone that has long since become a prison. There is an ancient teaching from Jesus that holds the key to everything you are seeking. He said, "The kingdom of God is within you." Most people treat this as a poetic sentiment for the afterlife. They are wrong. It is a scientific, metaphysical instruction for your life right now. The kingdom is the realm of pure consciousness, the field of infinite intelligence where all possibilities already exist. When you look at your life and see lack, struggle, or stagnation, you are looking at the external reflection of your internal state. You are treating the mirror as if it were the source. The problem isn't out there. It isn't the economy, your boss, your past, or your circumstances. The problem is that you have become very committed to a story that's no longer serving you. You think your reality creates your thoughts, but the truth is the exact opposite. Your consciousness shapes your reality. This is the hidden thinking pattern of the rich and the masters of old. While the masses are busy reacting to the world, the enlightened few are busy creating it from the inside out. They understand that to change the harvest, they must change the seed. Your current struggle is simply a wake-up call, an invitation to move from external validation to inner authority. You have been programmed to believe that success is about doing more. But if procrastination were a profession, you'd be up for a promotion. You are overcomplicating it because you are still operating from a place of separation. You are trying to use your limited human willpower to force a result, rather than aligning your consciousness with the reality you desire. You are waiting instead of deciding. Throughout this journey, we are going to tear down the mental structures that have kept you small. We will look at your life through the lens of esoteric wisdom and practical mental reprogramming. We will explore how your imagination creates your reality, how to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, and how to surrender your false ego to the guidance of your higher self. This is not a book of gentle suggestions. This is a manual for self-mastery. If you are ready to stop acting like a victim of your circumstances and start operating as the conscious creator of your destiny, then you are in the right place. But be warned, you cannot keep your old beliefs and expect a new life. Your excuses are working harder than you are, and it is time to retire them. You have spent years looking for a success code hidden in the external world, in strategies, in people, in luck. You are now going to learn the truth: the code was never hidden. It was silenced by your own noise. You were looking for a key to a door that was never locked. You were the one holding the handle, waiting for someone else to turn it. This is your moment to stop waiting. You must understand that every thought you hold is a broadcast. If you are unhappy with the broadcast, you must change the frequency. You cannot keep thinking the thoughts of a person who is struggling and expect to experience the reality of a person who has mastered their life. The transformation begins with a single decision, the decision to stop compromising with your own greatness. You have been arguing for your limitations again, and it ends today. We are going to dissect the anatomy of your belief system. We are going to look at the subconscious patterns that have been running your life behind the scenes. You think you are the driver, but you have been a passenger in a vehicle driven by your fears, your past conditioning, and the expectations of others. You are taking the wheel back. You are asserting your authority as the sole proprietor of your consciousness. Be honest with yourself, are you willing to do what it takes? Are you willing to kill the old identity that has kept you safe but small? Are you willing to embrace the discomfort of growth because you know it is the only path to your freedom? Your future self is watching this choice. They see your hesitation. They see your doubts. They see you clutching the old story as if it were a life raft, when in fact, it is an anchor. Let's be clear, this book is not a polite request for you to change. It is a command to wake up. It is a demand for you to step into the power you have been avoiding. You are not a spectator of your life, you are the source. You are the projector. You are the architect. And the blueprints are in your hands. Let's begin the work of rewriting your destiny. Summary. The introduction establishes that current reality is a direct reflection of internal belief systems, urging the reader to abandon external blaming. It clarifies the spiritual principle that the kingdom of God is within, grounding it as a metaphysical truth for modern, practical success. It identifies the core obstacle as a commitment to a disempowering personal story, framing the audiobook as a manual for dismantling this identity. It sets a tone of authoritative, tough love, requiring the reader to shift from passive waiting to conscious decision-making to initiate deep self-mastery. Chapter 1: The Myth of External Power. Stop looking at your bank account, your job title, or your partner to determine your worth. When you do, you are giving away your power. You are effectively handing the remote control of your life to the world, and then you have the audacity to wonder why the channel is stuck on a drama you hate. You've been programmed to believe that the world out there is the cause, and you are the effect. This is the first lie you must dismantle if you ever want to be free. You are acting like a spectator watching a movie of your life, shouting at the screen when you don't like the plot. But you are not the spectator. You are the projector. The wealthy, the enlightened, and the masters of old do not operate this way. They understand a fundamental law of metaphysics: there is no out there separate from the in here. Every frame of your life, the poverty, the abundance, the joy, the frustration, is being cast from the film strip of your consciousness. If the movie is bad, why are you shouting at the wall? Why are you trying to rearrange the pixels? You must change the film. When you finally grasp that your inner state dictates your outer reality, you stop trying to wrestle the world into submission. You start commanding the world from the stillness of your own mind. You've mistaken fear for wisdom. You tell yourself, "I'm being realistic," or "I'm just being cautious." Let's be honest with yourself, that's a convenient excuse. You aren't being cautious, you are being terrified of your own power. You are so afraid of what would happen if you truly stepped into your potential that you've built a cage of reasonable limitations. Who told you that was a good idea? Was it your parents, your teachers, or society? Whoever it was, they were operating from their own limited, shackled consciousness. Why are you continuing to pay rent for an apartment in a building that doesn't even exist? Think about the concept of mental causation. Charles F. Haanel taught that the universal mind is the creative principle. This is not some abstract theological concept, it is a mechanical reality. If your thought creates matter, then your current reality is simply a receipt for your past thinking. If you don't like the receipt, you don't go back to the store and yell at the clerk. You change what you put in your cart. You are still trying to negotiate with your potential, hoping that somehow, through sheer effort and struggle, the world will eventually grant you what you want. But the universe doesn't respond to your struggle, it responds to your frequency. You are waiting instead of deciding. You are waiting for the promotion, the partner, or the breakthrough to arrive before you feel successful. This is the ultimate trap of the ego. It wants you to stay in the waiting room forever, clutching your ticket, hoping your number gets called. The masters understand the wish fulfilled. They realize that the state of being must precede the state of having. You must assume the feeling of your desire now. If you wait for the physical evidence to appear before you start acting like the person who already has it, you will wait an eternity. The physical world is just the echo, you are the voice. If you don't speak, the echo cannot exist. Consider the law of mental attitude. Florence Scovel Shinn often spoke of the importance of keeping your mental house in order. What are you allowing into the foyer of your mind? Are you letting the news, the gossip, and the complaints of others walk all over your mental carpets? Every time you indulge in a fearful thought or a cynical remark, you are inviting a thief into your home. You are diluting your power. You are arguing for your limitations again. Every time you say, "I can't because," or "it's too hard because," you are literally constructing a brick wall in front of your own path. You've become very committed to a story that's no longer serving you. It's a sad story, a victim story, a "nobody understands my struggle" story. It's comfortable. It's safe. It gives you an identity. But it is a tomb. You are overcomplicating it because you are addicted to the struggle. You think that if it's easy, it's not real. You think that if you don't work yourself to the bone, you don't deserve the reward. This is a poverty consciousness loop. The truth is, infinite intelligence is always working, and it works most effectively when you get out of your own way. Stop trying to control the how and start commanding the what. Your future self is watching this choice. They are looking back at you, right now, in this moment. They see your hesitation. They see your excuses. They see you choosing the comfort of the known over the greatness of the unknown. They are hoping you wake up. You are negotiating with your potential, bargaining with your own greatness, offering to give a little bit of effort if life gives you a little bit of proof. That is not how a creator functions. A creator declares. A creator commands. A creator assumes. You treat your life like a rehearsal, but the show has already started. You are on stage, the lights are up, and you are standing there, waiting for a script that was handed to you the moment you were born. The only problem is, you are the writer, the director, and the lead actor. You are waiting for a review from the audience, but there is no audience. It's just you. It has always been just you. Self-mastery begins when you stop looking at the world as a force to be reckoned with and start looking at it as a field to be shaped. You must cultivate a mental environment that is worthy of the life you desire. Stop letting external chaos dictate your internal peace. When the world tells you no, realize that the world is just reporting on its own limitations, not yours. Your inner power is not subject to the laws of the physical world, it is the force that defines them. Be honest with yourself, are you willing to stop being a victim of your past? Because your past is nothing more than a memory. A ghost that only has power if you invite it into your current present. You are not your history. You are your consciousness. And your consciousness is infinite. The moment you decide to own your reality, the moment you stop blaming the mirrors of your life for your own reflection, is the moment you become dangerous, not to others, but to the mediocrity that has held you hostage for far too long. The comfort zone is called, it misses you. Do not go back. Your potential is not something to be managed, it is something to be unleashed. Take the command. Summary. This chapter dismantles the victim mentality by clarifying that external circumstances are reflections of internal consciousness, not the cause of one's state. It challenges the reader to stop identifying as the effect of the world and start embracing their role as the projector or conscious creator of their life. It highlights the futility of waiting for physical evidence before adopting a success mindset, advocating for the wish-fulfilled approach as a mandatory mental discipline. It emphasizes that self-mastery requires rigorous control over one's mental environment and the total rejection of disempowering stories that prevent authentic, radical change. Chapter 2, The Architecture of Belief. If you think your life is currently determined by your hard work, your education, or your connections, you are fooling yourself. Those are secondary factors. The primary engine of your existence, the absolute architect of your reality, is your subconscious belief system. You are walking around with a mental blueprint that was drafted in your childhood, edited by your fears, and reinforced by every rejection you have ever accepted as truth. If you don't like the building you're living in, you can't just paint the walls, you have to demolish the foundation. Joseph Murphy famously taught that the subconscious mind is a garden, and your thoughts are the seeds. But look at your garden. It is overgrown with weeds, anxiety, doubt, past failures, and a nagging sense of not enough. Then, you go out into the world, plant a single rose of desire, and wonder why it doesn't bloom. The soil is too thick with the weeds of your old conditioning. You have been watering your limitations for decades. It is time to pull them out by the root, without apology and without hesitation. You are arguing for your limitations again. Every time you say, "I'm not good at business," or "I always struggle with money," you are not describing your reality, you are giving a direct, binding order to your subconscious. Your subconscious mind does not possess a sense of humor, and it certainly doesn't argue. It takes your dominant thoughts and turns them into your dominant experiences. It is a servant that never sleeps. If you feed it trash, it will build you a trash-filled life. It has no choice. It is only obeying your commands. The wealthy operate on a completely different code. They have installed a success program in their subconscious that functions automatically. They don't have to try to be successful, they can't help but be successful because their inner blueprint expects nothing less. You are overcomplicating it by trying to force success through external willpower. You are pushing a boulder uphill while the masters are simply clearing the path for the river to flow. You are waiting for permission that no one is going to give you, but your subconscious doesn't need permission. It needs conviction. You have mistaken fear for wisdom. When you feel a nudge toward a bold new direction, your ego screams, "That's dangerous. Stay put." And you call that prudence. That is not wisdom, that is the sound of your old, survival-based programming trying to keep you small. Your future self is watching this choice, and they are begging you to override that fear. The comfort zone is called, it misses you, because it's where you were most easily controlled. But you weren't born to be controlled. You were born to be a creator. Let's be honest with yourself. You are terrified of losing the identity you've built around your struggles. If you stop being the one who never gets a break, who are you? This is why you sabotage yourself right as you reach the threshold of a breakthrough. Your subconscious fears the loss of the familiar, even if the familiar is painful. You must become more committed to your evolution than you are to your comfort. You must consciously reprogram the nervous system to accept a higher standard of living. This is the code: replace the old belief, or the old belief will continue to replace your future. Think about the principle of assumption. Neville Goddard urged us to assume the feeling of the wish being fulfilled. This is not about visualization as a daydream, it is about a radical psychological shift. When you assume the feeling of success, you are essentially hacking your subconscious. You are providing it with a sensory experience of the reality you want, and your subconscious, in its blind obedience, must move the physical world to match that internal state. It doesn't know the difference between a real event and a vividly imagined one. Use this to your advantage. You're negotiating with your potential by saying, "I'll believe it when I see it." The universe says, "You'll see it when you believe it." This is the core of new thought. You are the one who must move first. You are the one who must provide the tone. If you are vibrating at the frequency of lack, you will only ever attract more things to lack. Stop looking at the world as if it's the source of your supply. The source is infinite intelligence, and the pipeline is your own belief. If the pipeline is clogged with doubt, the abundance cannot reach you. That's a convenient excuse, the idea that you don't have the resources to succeed. You have the greatest resource in the universe, consciousness. The people you admire, the ones who seem to possess the success code, didn't have special access to magic. They just had the discipline to guard their mental gates. They refused to accept the limiting beliefs that the rest of the world accepts as gospel. They decided what was true for them, and they stuck to it until the world had no choice but to agree. You are giving away your power every time you vent your frustrations. You think you are just letting off steam, but you are actually reinforcing your own prison. Every complaint is a declaration of dependency on the thing you hate. You are affirming that the problem has power over you. Stop it. Be silent. Instead of complaining, start commanding. Speak to your circumstances with the authority of someone who knows that they are the architect. Your life is a canvas, and your beliefs are the paint. You have been painting with mud for years, and you are surprised that the final piece is drab. It is time to pick up the gold. It is time to assume the greatness that is your birthright. You have been waiting for someone to hand you the brush, but the brush has been in your hand the entire time. Start painting a different reality today. Not tomorrow, not when you have more money, not when things settle down. Now. You are the master of your internal reality, own that throne. Summary. This chapter identifies the subconscious mind as the primary architect of reality, explaining that past conditioning creates a blueprint that must be demolished to achieve new results. It introduces the subconscious as a literal, unthinking servant that obeys the commands of your dominant thoughts, regardless of whether those thoughts serve you. It challenges the reader to move beyond waiting for evidence and instead utilize the power of assumption to force the physical world to align with an internal state. It emphasizes that self-sabotage often stems from a fear of losing one's current identity, urging the reader to prioritize their evolution over the comfort of old. Chapter 3, The Alchemy of Imagination. You have been taught that imagination is for children and dreamers, a way to escape the harsh realities of life. That is the greatest deception ever sold to you. Imagination is not an escape, it is the laboratory where the fabric of reality is woven. Everything you see around you, from the chair you are sitting on to the device you are holding, began as a thought in someone's imagination. The masters of old understood this as the supreme creative power of the human mind. If you are not using your imagination to design your life, you are using it to fear your future. You're arguing for your limitations again, telling yourself that facts are facts. That is a convenient excuse. Facts are merely the remnants of yesterday's imagination. By the time a fact reaches your eyes, it is already dead, already past. To live only by the facts is to live in a graveyard. If you want to create a new destiny, you must stop looking at the results and start looking at the source. Your imagination is the workshop of the infinite intelligence within you. When you enter that space, you are not playing, you are collaborating with the creative power of the universe. Think about the way you spend your quiet moments. Are you playing back scenarios of failure, or are you rehearsing the experience of your success? If you spend your time worrying about how you will pay your bills, you are imagining poverty. If you spend your time mentally criticizing your own performance, you are imagining your own limitations. You are using your creative energy to build the very things you claim to hate. This is why you feel stuck, you are the architect of your own misfortune. Stop acting like a victim and start acting like the master of your internal landscape. That's your ego talking when you say, I don't have time to sit around imagining things. You have time to scroll through social media, time to worry, and time to complain. You have time, you just lack discipline. The wealthy know that mental rehearsal is more productive than physical grinding. They sit in the silence, not to avoid work, but to perform the real work, the work of alignment. They assume the feeling of the wish being fulfilled until it feels more real than their current circumstances. This is the success code. It is not about doing more, it is about being more until the doing becomes a natural, effortless extension of your state. You have mistaken fear for wisdom. You think that by staying hypervigilant about your problems, you are being smart. You are not being smart, you are being frantic. You are operating from a state of separation. You are trying to manifest through effort, through force, through pushing. But the universe does not move for those who push, it moves for those who attract. When you live from the end, you stop chasing. You stop the desperate, needy energy that repels the very things you want. Your future self is watching this choice, waiting for you to stop the struggle and start the command. Your subconscious does not know the difference between a memory and a vivid imagination. This is the secret key to your transformation. If you can hold a mental image of your success with enough emotional intensity, your subconscious will accept it as the new reality. It will then begin to organize your world, your encounters, and your inspirations to match that image. You don't have to figure out the how. The how is the business of infinite intelligence. Your only job is to provide the what. You are overcomplicating it by trying to be the engineer of your own miracle. Just provide the blueprint, and trust the power that built the stars to do the rest. You wait for the right mood to dream, the right time to visualize. You are waiting for permission that no one is going to give you. The universe does not require a formal application for you to start using your own mind. It is your inherent right, your birthright, and your responsibility. If you are not designing your life, someone else is, or worse, the chaotic momentum of the world is doing it for you. Is that really how you want to live? Be honest with yourself. Why are you afraid of your own success? Deep down, you know that if you truly tapped into this power, your old life would vanish. The friends who want to keep you small, the habits that keep you sedated, the stories that keep you feeling safe, they would all have to go. You are holding on to the old because it is familiar. But the comfort zone is called, it misses you because it wants to keep you contained. It is time to burn the map of your past and trust the inner compass of your imagination. You are negotiating with your potential by allowing your daily frustrations to cloud your vision. A master gardener does not stop planting because of a single day of bad weather. They keep planting. They keep watering. They keep trusting the season of harvest. You must treat your mind with the same reverence. Stop letting the facts of your current experience distract you from the truth of your infinite potential. Your inner power is waiting for you to stop apologizing for your desires. Stop trying to make your vision reasonable. Reasonable is for the average. You are not average. You are a consciousness experiencing a human journey, and you have the ability to rewrite the script of that journey at any moment. Start today. Sit in the quiet. Close your eyes. Feel the joy, the relief, and the power of the life you are creating. Make it vivid. Make it yours. And then, walk back into your world knowing that what you have seen in your mind is already true in the spirit. Your imagination is not a toy, it is the throne of your power. Take your seat. Summary. This chapter positions the imagination as the primary creative tool for reality design, refuting the common misconception that it is merely an escapist activity. It warns against using the imagination to rehearse failure and fear, which effectively uses one's creative power to manifest undesired outcomes. It explains the scientific mechanism of mental rehearsal, noting that the subconscious cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined state and physical reality. It calls for the abandonment of reasonable limitations, urging the reader to trust the inner process of living from the end rather than forcing results through Chapter 4, The Parable of the Broken Mirror. I once knew a man who spent his entire life cleaning a mirror. He lived in a house filled with dust and decay, but he was convinced that if he could just get the reflection in that mirror to look beautiful, his life would change. He spent hours polishing it, obsessing over every smudge, and getting angry whenever the dust settled again. He grew bitter. He grew tired. He blamed the air, the wind, and the house itself for the fact that his reflection remained exactly the same, tired, defeated, and trapped in a room of ruins. He never once turned around to look at the room behind him. He never realized that the mirror was merely reflecting the chaos he had allowed to build up in his own home. You are that man. You are obsessing over the mirror of your bank account, your social status, and your current circumstances. You are trying to polish your life from the outside. You think that if you just work a little harder, get that one promotion, or change that one person, the reflection will finally look like a winner. You are overcomplicating it. The reflection cannot change until you change the room. And the room is the state of your own consciousness. You are currently decorating a graveyard and calling it a mansion. Practical wisdom tells us that you cannot achieve a result on the outside that you have not first cultivated on the inside. This is the law of mental causation. If you want a life of abundance, you must first construct a palace of abundance in your mind. You do this through the discipline of your inner narrative. Stop letting the dust of your daily stressors settle on your mental furniture. When a bill comes in that you cannot pay, do you panic? That panic is the dust. It is the reflection of fear. Instead, practice the art of surrender to the source. Remind yourself that your supply is not linked to your salary, but to the infinite intelligence that governs all things. You are waiting for permission that no one is going to give you to start living with this level of confidence. That's your ego talking, telling you that it's not that simple. Your ego loves to complicate things because complication is a great hiding place for inactivity. It is much easier to analyze your problems than it is to change your frequency. Be honest with yourself, are you actually trying to solve your problems, or are you just busy arguing for your limitations? Every minute spent worrying is a minute stolen from your creative potential. Think of a time you were truly in the flow, when everything seemed to align effortlessly. You weren't forcing anything. You weren't worried about the how. You were simply present, focused, and aligned. That wasn't luck, that was your consciousness hitting the mark. The challenge is that you treat those moments as accidents rather than a state you can cultivate. You wait for them to happen to you, instead of deciding to dwell in them. This is the shift from a passive life to a proactive life. It is the difference between surviving and thriving. You have mistaken fear for wisdom, especially regarding your potential. You think you are being humble when you play small, but there is no virtue in poverty or mediocrity. By refusing to step into your full power, you are actually depriving the world of the light you were meant to bring. Your future self is watching this choice, and they are tired of watching you play this game of what if. They are waiting for you to stop negotiating and start acting. The comfort zone is not a safe haven, it is a slow-motion destruction of your soul's purpose. We have all been there. We wait for the perfect day, the perfect plan, the perfect amount of confidence. But there is no such thing as a perfect start. There is only the decision to begin. When you decide, the universe rushes to meet you. It is a metaphysical law. The moment you commit, the path reveals itself, step by step. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to take the first step with the conviction that you are already walking on solid ground. This is the audacity of the conscious creator. That's a convenient excuse, the idea that you have to figure it all out first. You don't. The architects of history didn't have all the answers when they started, they had a vision, and they held it with such intensity that the universe had to materialize it. You are trying to build your life with the tools of your past. Your past is a graveyard of could-haves and should-haves. Leave it there. The present moment is the only laboratory you have. You must stop trying to fix the mirror and start fixing the man or woman standing in front of it. Stop looking at the reflection in the mirror and wondering why it doesn't smile back at you. Walk away from the glass. Go back into the room of your mind and start sweeping. Clear out the doubts, the fears, and the disempowering stories you tell yourself every morning. Replace them with the truth of your capability and the awareness of your connection to infinite intelligence. When you go back to the mirror, you won't need to polish it. You will see a new person staring back, one who is no longer waiting for the world to change, but has finally decided to change the world. You have the power to reframe every single experience. A failure? No, it's a data point for your next success. A rejection? No, it's redirection to something better. You are the only one who can write the script for your life. Every day is a new draft, and you are the editor-in-chief. Stop accepting the rough drafts provided by your ego and your conditioning. You are capable of creating a masterpiece that will stand the test of time, but you must first have the courage to acknowledge that the power to paint is already in your hands. Now, put down the cloth, stop obsessing over the smudge, and step into your full, radiant reality. The reflection is not the source, you are. Summary. This chapter uses the parable of the man and the mirror to illustrate the futility of trying to change external circumstances without first addressing the internal state. It contrasts the ego's desire to complicate life as a justification for inaction with the simplicity of aligning consciousness with infinite intelligence. It emphasizes that, being in the flow, is not a random occurrence but a repeatable state of consciousness that is cultivated through disciplined inner narrative. It encourages the reader to abandon the paralyzing need to have all the answers, urging them to commit to the first step of their vision, trusting that the path will reveal itself through act. Chapter 5, The Master Key of Mental Causation. Imagine you are a high-end radio receiver. Most people spend their entire lives frantically turning the dial, trying to catch a signal of success, but they are tuned to the frequency of struggle. They complain, they worry, and they focus intently on what they lack, and then they wonder why the only music playing in their lives is a broadcast of anxiety and scarcity. They are convinced that the radio station is broken. They blame the atmosphere. They blame the technology, they blame the station manager. But the station is fine. It has always been fine. It is the receiver that is out of tune. You are the receiver. This is the principle of mental causation. Your external reality is not the broadcast, it is the physical manifestation of the frequency you are currently emitting. If you want to hear a different song, you don't climb the radio tower and yell at the transmission, you simply change the dial. In your life, the dial is your habitual thought pattern. When you catch yourself obsessing over a problem, you are tuning into the frequency of the problem. That is why the problem persists. You are literally broadcasting your own limitations to the universe. You are confirming the existence of the very thing you claim you want to eliminate. Let's apply this to something real, your finances. You might say, I am not rich because I don't have enough money. That is a logical, physical observation, but it is a metaphysical disaster. You are looking at the effect and calling it the cause. The wealthy, those who truly understand that the success code, do not start with the money. They start with the consciousness of value. They understand that money is just energy, a symbol of exchange. If they feel poor, they act poor, and their reality conforms to that poverty. If they feel like a person of value, they act like a person of value, and the money follows as a natural consequence. Stop acting like a victim of your bank account. You are the one who decides what you are worth. Every time you say, I can't afford that, you are affirming your own lack. I am not saying you should be reckless with your spending, I am saying you should be careful with your language. Instead of affirming what you cannot do, start asking, how can I provide more value? Or, what is the next step toward the life I envision? This shifts your focus from the lack frequency to the creative frequency. You are overcomplicating it by thinking money is the objective. The objective is your state of mind. When your mind is tuned to abundance, money is just a natural byproduct. Think about a professional athlete. Do they visualize themselves missing the shot? Do they spend their time focusing on the crowd that might boo them? No. They visualize the ball going through the net. They see the success before the physical action takes place. They are using mental causation to prime their nervous system for the win. You need to apply this same level of focus to your life. Stop replaying your past failures like a bad highlight reel. Use that mental energy to film your future victory. The subconscious cannot distinguish between a memory of a failure and a rehearsal of a success. Feed it the success. You have mistaken fear for wisdom. You think that by staying hyper-aware of everything that could go wrong, you are being prepared. You are not prepared, you are paralyzed. You are negotiating with your potential by refusing to commit to the win until you see the proof. But the universe doesn't show you the proof first. It shows you the reflection of your belief. If you don't walk into the room like you own it, the room will never treat you like an owner. You are the master of your own projection, yet you act as if you are a tenant in a reality you do not control. That's a convenient excuse, the idea that you have to wait for the right time. The right time is the moment you decide. When you make a firm, internal decision, you change your frequency. You stop being a passive recipient of circumstances and start being the active broadcaster of your destiny. Your future self is watching this choice, waiting for you to stop the hesitation. They are waiting for you to realize that you are not a small, fragile human at the mercy of a harsh world. You are an expression of infinite intelligence, and the world is merely the medium through which you manifest your will. Be honest with yourself, are you actually doing the work of reprogramming, or are you just trying to think better? Trying is for the indecisive. A master doesn't try, a master assumes. If procrastination were a profession, you'd be up for a promotion, but you aren't here to play professional procrastinator. You are here to graduate to the next level of your soul's expression. You have to stop playing in the shallow end of the pool and start swimming in the deep. The comfort zone is called, it misses you because it wants to keep you on the frequency of safety, which is just another name for stagnation. It is time to turn the dial. Stop listening to the static of your doubts and the interference of your past. Lock onto the frequency of your potential. When you do, the music of your life, the opportunities, the people, the breakthroughs, will begin to shift. Not because you changed the world, but because you finally tuned the receiver. You are the transmitter, the receiver, and the broadcast itself. Recognize this, and you hold the key to everything. Summary. This chapter uses the metaphor of a radio receiver to explain that an individual's habitual thoughts act as a frequency, attracting matching external realities. It clarifies that money and success are results of a consciousness of value, and chasing results without changing the underlying mindset is a reversal of the law of mental causation. It draws a parallel between the mental rehearsal used by elite athletes and the necessity for the reader to visualize victory before it manifests physically. It emphasizes that trying is a sign of hesitation and that true transformation requires the firm, uncompromising assumption of. Chapter 6, The Great Internal Shift. You have spent years collecting information, reading the right books, and attending the right seminars, yet your life remains largely unchanged. You are an encyclopedia of self-help, but a pauper of experience. You think that if you just acquire more information, one more secret, one more technique, the wall will finally crumble. You are fooling yourself. Information is not transformation. Information is just a map. You are still sitting in your living room, staring at the paper, and wondering why you haven't arrived at the destination. The map is not the journey, and the knowledge is not the power. Transformation is not about knowing more, it is about being more. It is the painful, glorious process of shedding the skin that no longer fits. It is the moment you stop treating the truth like an interesting idea and start treating it like the air you breathe. You are waiting for permission to change, but transformation is not a process you ask for. It is a state you inhabit. When you decide to change, the universe doesn't wait for your brain to catch up, it begins to dissolve the structures of your old life before your eyes. You must be willing to let the old you burn in the fire of your own decision. Be honest with yourself, are you addicted to the process of learning because it feels like growth, but keeps you safely away from the act of living? It is so much easier to read about the law of attraction than it is to actually surrender your control and trust the process. You are overcomplicating it. You want to understand the physics of the water before you jump in. But you will never know how to swim until you let go of the edge of the pool. The edge is your current identity, and it is the only thing keeping you from the life you desire. You are clinging to the edge because it feels safe, but safety is the enemy of greatness. You have mistaken fear for wisdom. When you feel that visceral pull to stop playing small, to quit the job that drains you, or to start the venture that terrifies you, you tell yourself, I need more information. That's your ego talking. It wants to keep you in the library of your mind, because in the library, nothing can hurt you. But in the library, nothing can grow, either. Your future self is watching this choice, and they are begging you to close the book and walk out the door. They don't care about what you know, they care about who you are becoming. Think about the most transformative moments of your life. Did they come from a lecture? Or did they come from a crisis, a heartbreak, or a moment of radical decision? Those moments were transformative because they forced you to shed your old self to survive. You don't need a crisis to transform, you just need to be willing to kill your own excuses. Your excuses are working harder than you are. Every time you say, "I'll start when," you are literally killing the potential of the present moment. You are negotiating with your potential, bargaining for a future that will never arrive if you don't take the stand today. The masters of old, those who achieved true self-mastery, did not spend their lives studying. They spent their lives embodying. They took the wisdom they learned and they lived it until it was no longer a teaching, but their own nature. They didn't have tips for success. They had a character that attracted success. When you change your character, you change your trajectory. When you change your internal state, the world has no choice but to adjust to your new standard. This is the alchemy of character, it is the silent force that moves mountains. You are negotiating with your potential by keeping one foot in your old life and one foot in your new one. You are trying to be a transformed version of yourself while still holding on to the habits of your old self. You are trying to put new wine into old wineskins. It will not work. Transformation requires a total commitment. It requires you to stop arguing for your limitations and start acting as if your new life is the only reality you have ever known. This is a leap of faith into the void of your own greatness. You are not here to be a student of your own stagnation. You are here to become a master of your own destiny. Stop searching for the secret. There is no secret. The secret is that you are the power you have been seeking. The secret is that you have been waiting instead of deciding. The secret is that you have been looking for validation in the external world when the only authority that matters is the one sitting in the quiet of your own consciousness. You are the seeker and the sought. Today, stop reading and start doing the internal work. Close the browser, turn off the notifications, and sit in the silence until you can feel the person you are becoming. Not the person you hope to be, but the person who is already there, waiting for you to catch up. The comfort zone is called, it misses you because it is losing its grip on you. Let it go. The transformation you are seeking is already complete, you just need to stop behaving like the person you left behind. You have the power to define your own reality. Do not trade it for the comfort of the familiar. Step into the fire of your own evolution, and do not look back until you have arrived at the peak of your true self. The journey is not about the miles you travel, but about the identity you shed. Shed it all now. Summary. This chapter distinguishes between the acquisition of information and the act of transformation, arguing that intellectual accumulation is a common trap for those avoiding real change. It challenges the reader to move from studying success to embodying it, noting that true power comes from fundamental character change rather than intellectual gathering. It warns against the split life, where the reader keeps one foot in their old, limited identity while trying to manifest a new, expanded reality. It calls for an immediate halt to external seeking, urging the reader to recognize that the authority and power they seek already exist within their own consciousness. Chapter 7, The Master Key of Emotional Alchemy. Consider the way a chef transforms raw ingredients. A handful of flour, water, and yeast is unremarkable, even indigestible in its raw form. But when subjected to the intense, controlled heat of an oven, it undergoes a chemical transformation. It becomes bread. Your emotions are your ingredients. Most of you leave them raw and scattered, then wonder why your life tastes like nothing. You carry around the raw emotions of frustration, bitterness, and anxiety, and you wonder why your life feels heavy. The secret of the rich, the truly wealthy in spirit and matter, is the ability to use the heat of their own consciousness to alchemize those emotions into gold. They do not run from their feelings, they process them through the furnace of their own intention. You are overcomplicating it by thinking you need to fix your external situation to feel better. You are waiting for the promotion to feel successful, you are waiting for the apology to feel peace. That is a trap. You are giving your emotional power away to things you cannot control. The masters know that you must generate the emotional state first. This is not about suppressing your feelings, it is about transmuting them. Suppression creates pressure, and pressure eventually leads to an explosion. Transmutation creates movement, and movement leads to your destiny. You must be the master of your internal chemistry. Think about a high-stakes investor. When the market crashes, the amateur investor panics, sells at a loss, and reinforces their belief in scarcity. The master investor feels the same market drop, but they transmute that fear into calculated opportunity. They see the same fact, but apply a different interpretation. The fact didn't change, the market is still down, but the alchemical process in their mind turned a threat into an asset. You must do this with your life. When a setback hits, do you allow it to sour your state, or do you alchemize it into a lesson or a pivot point? Your interpretation is the fire that determines whether the outcome is ash or gold. You are arguing for your limitations again by saying, "I can't help how I feel." Be honest with yourself, you absolutely can. You are the one choosing to dwell on the insult, the failure, or the lack. You are feeding the fire of your own discomfort. That's your ego talking, demanding that you be right about being miserable. Your ego wants you to stay the victim because the victim has a ready-made excuse for why they haven't achieved greatness. The comfort zone called, it misses you because it loves to keep you trapped in that emotional cycle of, woe is me. But misery is a choice, and it is time for you to hand in your resignation from that job. Let's apply this to your daily work. You have tasks that bore you or stress you out. Instead of dragging yourself through them with a spirit of resentment, which is the raw emotion of slavery, transform the energy. View those tasks as the vessel through which you deliver value to the world. When you shift your intent from, "I have to do this," to, "I am serving through this," the task itself changes. You have performed alchemy. The work is the same, but the energy you are putting into it, and the energy you are getting back, is completely different. You are not a victim of your schedule, you are the architect of your engagement. You have mistaken fear for wisdom. You think that being cautious or realistic about your emotions is being smart. It is not, it is just a polite way of being stagnant. Your future self is watching this choice. They are wondering why you are still carrying the emotional baggage of 5 years ago. You are negotiating with your potential by refusing to let go of the stories that keep your emotions stuck in the past. You are carrying a suitcase of rocks and wondering why you cannot run the race. Empty the bag. The past has no power unless you reach back and pull it into your present. You are not here to procrastinate on your own evolution. You are here to master your internal climate. Your emotions are not the weather that happens to you, they are the climate you create. If you are tired of living in a storm, start creating a sunshine-filled state of mind. You do this by deliberately choosing thoughts that align with your desired reality. This requires constant vigilance. It requires you to be the gatekeeper of your own mind, turning away any emotion that does not serve the person you are becoming. Think of a time when you were deeply inspired. Do you remember the feeling? It wasn't just a thought, it was a state. That state is accessible to you right now, regardless of your bank account or your job title. You can cultivate that state through mental discipline. This is what the masters mean by inner power. It is the ability to hold a high frequency even when the physical world is throwing a tantrum. It is the steady hand on the wheel when the ocean is rough. You were not built to break under pressure, you were built to alchemize it. Stop waiting for the world to give you permission to be happy, successful, or at peace. The world will never give you that, it is not the world's job. It is your job. Alchemize your frustration into focus. Alchemize your doubt into determination. Alchemize your waiting into deciding. You are the architect, the chef, and the master of your own emotional house. Start cleaning it up, and start fueling the fire of your own greatness. The ingredients are all there, sitting on the counter. The only thing missing is your willingness to turn on the heat. Begin the process now, and watch as your world shifts to mirror the gold you have created within. Summary. This chapter introduces the metaphor of the chef to explain emotional alchemy, arguing that emotions are raw ingredients that must be transmuted into productive states. It challenges the reader to stop waiting for external conditions to improve before they allow themselves to feel success, emphasizing that the internal state must precede the external result. It uses the example of an investor to illustrate how the same fact can produce drastically different results depending on the mental interpretation applied to it. It calls for the reader to stop viewing their emotions as involuntary, weather, and start treating them as a self-created climate that can be changed through deliberate. Chapter 8, The Bridge of Inspired Action. There was once a gardener who decided that the only way to ensure his prize-winning roses grew to their full potential was to pull on them every morning. He would grip the delicate stems, tugging with all his might, convinced that his physical effort was the only thing standing between the flower and its growth. He was exhausted, his hands were blistered, and worst of all, he was killing his garden. He thought he was being diligent. He thought he was being responsible. He was actually just interfering with the very life force that wanted to bloom. He mistook his struggle for stewardship, and in the process, he broke the very things he loved most. You are doing the exact same thing with your life. You are pulling on your roses. You are hustling, grinding, and forcing your way through the world, convinced that if you stop for a second, the universe will stop providing. You are convinced that your exertion is the source of your supply. That is not wisdom, that is arrogance. You are overcomplicating it because you have forgotten that there is an infinite intelligence behind the scenes that is already working on your behalf. The garden doesn't need your panic, it needs your patience and your alignment. Let's be honest with yourself, you are addicted to the struggle. You have been conditioned to believe that if you aren't sweating, you aren't working. If you aren't suffering, you aren't succeeding. This is a lie sold to you by a culture that values the appearance of busyness over the effectiveness of being. You are arguing for your limitations again by clinging to the idea that life must be hard to be meaningful. That's a convenient excuse to stay in the hamster wheel of busyness, because it prevents you from having to face the terrifying silence of your own potential. You are afraid to stop because you don't know who you are without the chaos. Practical wisdom demands a shift from forced action to inspired action. There is a world of difference between the two. Forced action comes from a place of fear, the fear that if you don't do something, you will fail. It is the action of a person who feels separate from their power, desperate to secure their future through sheer willpower. Inspired action, however, comes from a place of being. It is the action that arises when you have already assumed the feeling of the wish being fulfilled. It feels natural, inevitable, and often, surprisingly effortless. It is the river flowing to the sea, not the water trying to climb the mountain. Think about the times in your life when you truly thrived. You weren't frantic. You weren't desperate. You were simply doing the next right thing because it felt like the natural extension of who you were becoming. That wasn't an accident. That was your consciousness hitting the mark. That is the bridge of incidence. Neville Goddard taught that once you assume the state of your desire, the physical events necessary to bring that desire into manifestation will begin to occur. You don't need to force the bridge to appear, you just need to walk across it when it presents itself. The bridge is constructed of your own clarity. You have mistaken fear for wisdom. You think that by staying hypervigilant and constantly doing, you are keeping your dreams alive. You are not, you are smothering them. You are waiting for permission that no one is going to give you to slow down and listen. The universe speaks in whispers, and you are currently shouting so loud with your anxiety and your to-do lists that you cannot hear the guidance that is trying to steer you toward your greatest success. You are drowning out the signal with your own static. Who told you that was a good idea? The idea that your worth is tied to your output. If procrastination were a profession, you'd be up for a promotion, but your problem isn't that you aren't working hard enough, it's that you are working on the wrong things. You are busy rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic while the ship is already sinking. You need to stop managing your problems and start managing your consciousness. When you elevate your consciousness, the action you need to take becomes obvious. You stop guessing, and you start knowing. This is the difference between a laborer and a creator. The wealthy and the wise do not operate from a place of lack. They operate from a place of abundance. When you feel abundant, you don't scramble. You act with precision. You act with intent. You act with the quiet confidence of someone who knows the harvest is already on its way. You have become very committed to a story that says you must carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. It is time to retire that story. It is not serving you. It is exhausting you, and it is blocking the flow of the very intelligence you claim to want to tap into. Lay down the burden and pick up the vision. Your future self is watching this choice. They are waiting for you to realize that you are not a pawn in a game of chance, but a creator in a field of infinite possibility. They are waiting for you to stop negotiating with your potential and start embodying the ease that comes with true mastery. They are waiting for you to recognize that the work you are doing is secondary to the state you are holding. You have the ability to manifest your desires with grace, but you must first prove that you trust the intelligence that created you. If you want to know if an action is inspired or forced, ask yourself. Am I doing this because I am afraid, or am I doing this because I am expanding? If it's fear-based, stop. It's an act of desperation. If it's expansion-based, step into it with your whole heart. You will find that when you move from this place, doors open that you didn't even know existed. Synchronicities start to cluster around your life like filings to a magnet. The right people, the right ideas, the right resources, they begin to show up because you have finally invited them in. The comfort zone is called, it misses you. It wants you to go back to the comfort of struggle, the predictability of your stress, and the safety of your smallness. Don't go back. You are learning to walk a different path now. It is the path of the conscious creator. It requires more courage to be still and act intuitively than it does to run around in circles of frantic activity. Be brave enough to trust your own guidance. Be brave enough to believe that your internal state is more powerful than your external exertion. You are giving away your power every time you force a result. You are telling the universe that you don't trust it. You are telling the universe that you are the only one in charge of your outcome. That is a heavy burden to carry, and quite frankly, you aren't built for it. You are built to create, to manifest, and to enjoy. Let the infinite intelligence do the heavy lifting. Your only job is to stay on the frequency of your desire and walk across the bridge when it appears. Don't pull on the roses. Just water them, give them the light, and watch them bloom in their own perfect time. The timing is already perfect, you just have to believe it. Summary. This chapter uses the metaphor of the gardener to illustrate the futility of forcing results through struggle, contrasting this with the power of inspired action. It redefines the nature of work, shifting the focus from quantity, hustle/grind, to the quality of the internal state from which action arises. It explains the bridge of incidence, emphasizing that once the internal state, the wish fulfilled, is assumed, necessary physical actions will present themselves naturally. It provides a practical diagnostic tool, asking whether an action stems from fear or expansion. To help the reader distinguish between ego-driven desperation and soul. Chapter 9, The Anatomy of Surrender. You believe that surrendering is a sign of defeat. You think it means throwing in the towel, giving up, and letting life trample you. That is the ego's final, desperate lie. True surrender is not weakness, it is the ultimate act of power. It is the moment you stop fighting the current of the universe and start using its momentum to propel you forward. You have spent your entire life trying to be the captain of a ship that is already in the hands of a master navigator. You are tired because you are trying to do two jobs, you are trying to be the creator and the maintainer of your own life. Pick one. You cannot be the architect and the judge at the same time. Be honest with yourself, why are you so afraid to let go? Because you don't trust the outcome. You think that if you stop micromanaging the details, the whole house of cards will fall. You are overcomplicating it. You are trying to dictate to the infinite intelligence how, when, and through whom your desires should arrive. You are like a child planting a seed and then digging it up every hour to see if it's growing. Stop it. You are stifling the life out of your own creation with your doubt and your need for control. The seed already knows how to become a tree, it doesn't need your instructions. Transformation happens the moment you realize that your desire is already a fact in the realm of consciousness. If it is already a fact, what is there to worry about? If you knew, with absolute, unwavering certainty, that your prosperity was guaranteed, would you be frantic? Would you be obsessing over the how? No. You would be calm. You would be present. You would be moving through your day with a quiet, steady resolve. That state of calm is the state of surrender. It is not the absence of desire, it is the absence of the anxiety that says you might not get it. You are anchored in a knowing. You have mistaken fear for wisdom. You tell yourself, I need to stay alert to the problems. No, you need to stay alert to your alignment. Your alertness to problems is actually an obsession with lack, and that obsession is exactly what keeps those problems firmly anchored in your reality. You are arguing for your limitations again by clinging to your realistic worries. That's a convenient excuse to stay separated from your power. Your future self is watching this choice, waiting for you to exhale and trust the process. They see the burden you are carrying, and they are begging you to set it down so you can finally pick up the life you were meant to live. Think about the most significant changes you have ever made. Did you force them, or did you reach a breaking point where you finally just let go, and in that moment of surrender, the answer suddenly appeared? The answer was always there, you just couldn't see it because your ego was making so much noise. When you surrendered, you lowered the volume of your own interference. You allowed infinite intelligence to step in. You realized that your struggle was the wall, and the moment you stopped building it, the door was revealed. Surrender is not the end of the effort, it is the end of the resistance. The comfort zone called, it misses you because it is losing its hold on your identity. It wants you to feel that heavy, anxious responsibility because that anxiety keeps you small, manageable, and predictable. When you surrender, you become unpredictable. You become dangerous. You stop being a person who reacts to the world and start being a person who moves through the world with the force of the universe behind them. The comfort zone cannot exist in the frequency of surrender, because surrender is a leap into the unknown, and the comfort zone is the prison of the known. You are not here to stall. You are here to evolve. Surrender is the accelerator. When you drop the need to control the outcome, you drop the resistance. And it is resistance, not lack of effort, that keeps you from your destiny. You are negotiating with your potential every single day that you insist on doing it your way. There is a better way. It is the way of grace, the way of flow, and the way of trust. You are not losing control, you are gaining access to a higher order of intelligence that is far more capable than your limited human reasoning. You are giving away your power every time you try to force a result. You are essentially saying to the universe, I don't trust you, so I'll do it myself. And then, when you fail, you blame the universe. Stop it. It is time to step out of the way. It is time to stop playing God and start being the vessel for the God power that is already operating within you. You are not the source of the results, you are the source of the intent. The results are the responsibility of the infinite. Let the universe do its job, and you do yours. Keep your mind aligned with the beauty of what you want to experience. Today, practice the act of radical surrender. When a challenge arises, instead of bracing yourself for a fight, take a breath. Say, I trust the process. Stop trying to solve the problem with your limited human intellect, instead, move your consciousness into the feeling of the solution. Feel the relief. Feel the certainty. Then, walk forward. You will be amazed at how quickly the path clears when you stop trying to bulldoze it yourself. The path is not blocked, your perspective is. Shift it, surrender the outcome, and watch the doors swing open. You were never meant to carry this alone. You were meant to be the conduit for greatness. Summary. This chapter redefines surrender as a powerful act of alignment rather than a sign of defeat, distinguishing it clearly from the concept of giving up. It identifies micromanaging the outcome as a primary cause of resistance, comparing the reader to someone who disrupts their own growth by constantly checking for results. It emphasizes that transformation occurs when the reader drops the ego's need for control, allowing infinite intelligence to manifest the result without human interference. It calls for a transition from doing it yourself, force, to trusting the process, flow, arguing that surrender is the most effective and courageous way to accelerate one's manifestation. Chapter 10, The Prosperity Consciousness. Most people believe that prosperity is something they get when they finally work hard enough or get lucky. That is the fundamental delusion of the working-class consciousness. Prosperity is not an acquisition, it is an orientation. It is a frequency. If you are waiting for a bank balance to tell you that you are prosperous, you are living backward. You are expecting the mirror to change before you adjust your own expression. The rich do not just have money, they have a consciousness that assumes abundance as their natural state of being. They do not view the world through the lens of lack, because they understand that lack is a man-made illusion, not a cosmic reality. You must adopt this mindset if you ever intend to master your financial destiny. Be honest with yourself. Why do you feel like you have to fight for your piece of the pie? That's your ego talking, operating from a place of scarcity. It tells you there isn't enough to go around, so you'd better hoard, protect, and struggle. Who told you that was a good idea? Was it your parents? Was it society? Whoever it was, they were selling you a lie. There is no limit to the infinite intelligence that creates reality. The universe is not a zero-sum game, it is an infinite expansion. When you truly grasp this, the need to fight evaporates. You realize that your success does not take away from anyone else's, and their success does not diminish yours. Prosperity is not a limited resource, it is a universal law of nature, and it is available to anyone who aligns their consciousness with it. Transformation occurs when you move from a state of needing to a state of being. When you need money, you are broadcasting lack. You are telling the universe, I don't have it, and the universe, in its infinite generosity, mirrors that lack back to you. When you are prosperous, you are broadcasting confidence, value, and circulation. You are no longer clutching, you are giving. This is the secret code of the wealthy. They understand that money is like blood, it must circulate to keep the body of their life alive. Stagnation is the symptom of a poverty consciousness. To attract more, you must be willing to circulate what you have, knowing that the source is bottomless. This is the paradox of wealth. You have to give in order to receive, and you have to act wealthy before you have the evidence of it. You are overcomplicating it by trying to save your way to freedom. You cannot save yourself out of a poverty consciousness. You must spend your way, not by being reckless, but by investing in your own value and circulating your energy with the belief that more will always come. This is a leap of faith. It requires you to stop arguing for your limitations and start acting as if you are backed by an unlimited supply. Your future self is watching this choice, waiting for you to stop the penny pinching of your soul. They are waiting for you to demonstrate that you trust the infinite intelligence more than you trust the physical evidence of your current account balance. Faith is the currency of the wealthy. Think about the way you talk about your resources. Do you say, I can't afford that, or do you say, that's not currently in my budget? The first is an affirmation of your limitation, the second is a practical assessment of your current focus. One traps you in a cage of scarcity, the other keeps you in the driver's seat of your financial flow. You have mistaken fear for wisdom by thinking that being cheap is the same as being wise. It is not. Being wise means understanding the nature of your energy. When you act from fear, you repel the very abundance you claim to seek. When you act from prosperity, you open the gates for it to flow in. When it comes to upgrading your financial mindset, you are waiting for permission to feel wealthy. You think you need the car, the house, or the investment portfolio to feel like you've made it. But those are just props. You can have all of them and still be a pauper in your heart. True prosperity is the internal conviction that your worth is intrinsic and that your supply is handled by a power that never runs dry. You are not a human who needs to earn the right to be rich, you are a conscious being who is already entitled to the riches of the universe. The only thing you have to do is claim it. The comfort zone is called, it misses you because it wants to keep you in a survival lane. Survival is predictable. Survival is where you feel like a victim. But you weren't born for survival. You were born for thrivability. You are negotiating with your potential every time you accept a reality that is smaller than the vision you carry in your heart. Stop it. It is time to align your internal state with the reality of abundance. Stop settling for the crumbs when you are invited to the banquet. When you start living from a prosperity consciousness, your external world will begin to shift. You will notice opportunities you previously walked past. You will find that people who vibrate at a higher frequency start showing up in your life. You will find that the problems that used to keep you up at night are now handled with the ease of someone who knows the solution is already provided. This is not magic, this is the law of mental causation. Your external world is just the mirror of your internal state. Change your state, and the mirror is forced to change its image. It is a mechanical certainty, provided you hold the state with absolute conviction. Today, start by changing your relationship with your own values. Stop thinking that you need to trade your time for money. Start thinking about how you can trade your value for money. Value is infinite. Time is limited. When you switch your focus to value, you switch your consciousness to prosperity. You are the source of your own wealth. The job, the business, the investments, they are just the channels. The power is in your consciousness. Claim it, nurture it, and watch as your entire world transforms into a reflection of your own internal abundance. The money will come, but only after you have become the person who is wealthy in mind and spirit. You have the power to create this reality. Start now, and do not look back. Summary. This chapter reframes prosperity as a frequency of being, rather than an accumulation of getting, challenging the reader to stop identifying as a victim of their bank balance. It exposes the scarcity mindset as an ego-driven lie, arguing that infinite intelligence provides an unlimited field of opportunity for those who align with it. It emphasizes the importance of circulation, explaining that hoarding or fearing the loss of resources only reinforces the reality of lack. It provides a practical shift in mindset, moving from trading time for money to trading value for money, which inherently shifts the. Chapter 11, The Law of Non-Resistance. You are exhausted because you are fighting against the current of your own life. You are a master at resisting what is. When a bill arrives that you didn't expect, you resist it with anger. When a relationship shifts, you resist it with desperation. When your business doesn't grow at the pace you demanded, you resist it with self-criticism. Every ounce of energy you spend resisting is energy you are taking away from your own creation. You are overcomplicating it. The universe doesn't need your approval or your struggle, it needs your alignment. You are trying to be the gatekeeper of a reality that is already in flux, and in doing so, you are creating a dam that blocks the natural flow of your own prosperity and peace. Be honest with yourself. Why do you think your resistance changes anything? It doesn't. Resistance only serves to solidify the thing you hate. If you focus on a problem with the intention of fighting it, you are feeding that problem your very life force. You are arguing for your limitations again. You think you are being a warrior, but you are really just a gardener who is spending all his time trying to kill the weeds instead of planting the flowers. Stop it. The weeds have no power unless you give them your attention. By constantly acknowledging the problem, you are keeping it alive in your field of consciousness. You are literally maintaining the very things you want to eliminate. Transformation happens when you move from fighting to flowing. This is the law of non-resistance. It is not about being passive, it is about being directed. You acknowledge the reality of the present moment, without judgment, and then you shift your consciousness to the reality you choose to experience. You don't ignore the bill, but you don't attach your emotional state to it. You don't ignore the conflict, but you don't identify as the victim of it. You stay centered in your own power, knowing that the physical world is just a shadow of your internal state. When you drop the resistance, you open the channels for solutions that were always there, waiting for the noise to subside. You have mistaken fear for wisdom. You think that if you stop worrying about the danger, you are letting your guard down. That's your ego talking, trying to convince you that anxiety is a survival skill. It is not, it is a weight that drags you down. Your future self is watching this choice. They see you clutching the steering wheel of your life until your knuckles are white, terrified that if you let go for a second, you'll drive off a cliff. But you aren't on the road, you are in the sky. You were meant to fly, not to drive. Surrender the need to control the path, and you will find that the path was always leading you exactly where you needed to go. Think about the way water interacts with a rock in a river. It doesn't fight the rock. It doesn't get angry at the rock. It simply flows around it, over it, and past it. It remains water, and it continues on its journey to the ocean. You are the water. The problems in your life are just rocks. If you fight them, you will break your own spirit. If you flow around them, you remain whole. You maintain your frequency. You keep your consciousness clear. You are not meant to be rigid, you are meant to be fluid, adaptable, and directed by the higher intelligence that knows the way to the ocean of your desire. The comfort zone is called, it misses you because it thrives on your resistance. It loves to keep you trapped in the cycle of me versus the world. But there is no me versus the world. There is only you. You are the one who is creating the world through your reaction to it. If you react with resistance, the world will give you more to resist. If you react with acceptance and then pivot to creation, the world will give you more to create. You are the source, and your reaction is the command. When you stop resisting, you stop creating the conditions for further resistance. You start creating the conditions for expansion. You are not here to procrastinate on your own peace. You are here to master it. Stop negotiating with your own happiness. Stop waiting for the world to apologize to you. Stop waiting for the circumstances to be just right before you decide to feel good. That is a game you will never win. The world will never be perfect, but you can always be aligned. Your alignment is your responsibility, not the world's duty. When you take ownership of your frequency, you stop being a slave to external events and start being the architect of your own experience. You are giving away your power every time you lose your temper, your faith, or your focus because of an external event. You are telling the universe that your inner state is dependent on its behavior. Reclaim that power today. The next time something goes wrong, pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, am I going to resist this, or am I going to transmute this? Then, shift your focus to what you want to see. This is the ultimate secret of the masters, they are not affected by the world, they are the effect of their own consciousness. They live in a state of absolute non-resistance because they know that what they hold in their mind is more real than what they see with their eyes. You have that same capacity. Start practicing today. Stop fighting the wind and start setting your sails. The current is going where you want it to go, if you only stop trying to row against it. When you drop the paddle and lift the sails, you are tapping into the invisible currents of the universe. You are moving with the speed of your intention, not the labor of your hands. This is the freedom you have been seeking all along, the freedom from the struggle, the freedom from the resistance, and the freedom to finally, truly, soar. You are the creator, and the current is yours to ride. Just let go, and let the flow take you home. Summary. The chapter identifies resistance, fighting against current circumstances, as the primary cause of the reader's exhaustion and lack of manifestation. It uses the metaphor of a river flowing around a rock to illustrate how a master remains aligned by flowing past obstacles rather than fighting them. It challenges the ego's belief that anxiety and worry are survival skills, reclassifying them as weights that impede the natural expansion of the self. It emphasizes that non-resistance is not passive, but a deliberate choice to remain centered in one's chosen frequency, effectively transmuting external chaos into internal peace. Chapter 12, The Legacy of the Conscious Creator. We have reached the end of this journey, but in truth, you are only standing at the threshold of the beginning. For years, you navigated life like a person trying to read a map in the dark, convinced that the answers were tucked away in the shadows of out there, in the next promotion, the next relationship, the next stroke of luck. You now know the truth, the code was never hidden, it was silenced by your own internal noise. You were looking for a key to a door that was never locked. You were the one holding the handle, waiting for a permission slip from a world that has no authority over your soul. The realization is simple, yet profound: you are not a result of your environment, but the architect of it. You are no longer the person who started this book. You have dismantled the architecture of your own excuses. You have retired the victim story that you grew so comfortable wearing like a shroud. You have realized that your imagination is not a daydreamer's refuge, but the laboratory of the infinite, and that your consciousness is the bridge between the unseen potential of the universe and the tangible reality of your life. You are overcomplicating it if you think there is anything left to learn. Now, there is only the living. You have moved from the stage of the seeker to the stage of the sovereign. You are the one who decides. Be honest with yourself. Are you ready to stop negotiating with your potential? Your future self is no longer just watching, they are standing right next to you, nudging you to step forward. They have seen the greatness you are capable of, and they refuse to let you settle for the mediocre comfort of your past. That visceral discomfort you feel in your chest. That is not fear. That is the feeling of your expansion. It is the friction of your old identity trying to hold on to the shore while the tide of your true nature pulls you into the deep. Lean into it. Do not pull back. This is the moment where you claim your authority. You have mistaken fear for wisdom one last time. You worry that if you stop the frantic pushing, you will fall. You will not fall. You will float. You will discover that the universe has been waiting for you to stop the struggle so it could finally support you. The comfort zone called. It misses you, but it no longer has your phone number. You have moved on. You have outgrown the cage, even if you are still feeling the phantom sensation of the bars around you. You are discovering that true security does not come from what you hold, but from what you are. Think of your life as a masterpiece that is currently being painted. You have been the artist, the canvas, and the paint all along. For too long, you painted with the gray, muted colors of doubt, hesitation, and someday. You were surprised by the drab result, yet you kept holding the same brush. From this moment on, you choose the pigments. You choose the strokes. You choose the vision. You are not waiting for the right time to create, you are the one who defines time itself. If procrastination were a profession, you'd be up for a promotion, but you are done with that career. You are a professional creator now, and the world is your gallery. This is your legacy. You are here to demonstrate that the human spirit, when aligned with infinite intelligence, is capable of transcending any circumstance. You are here to prove that you are not a result of your environment, but the architect of it. You are here to leave a mark that says, I didn't just survive the storm, I became the calm that shifted the weather. You are a lighthouse in a sea of confusion, and your light is needed. You are here to leave a legacy of mastery that inspires others to claim their own divinity. Do not look back at the shoreline of your former life. Do not doubt the process when the reflection in the mirror hasn't fully caught up to your internal state yet. The harvest always follows the planting, but there is a season of silence between the seed and the fruit. In that silence, your faith is tested. In that silence, you must hold your vision with an iron grip. You have planted the seeds. You have cleared the soil of your limiting beliefs. You have watered the garden with the conviction of the wish fulfilled. Now, walk in faith. The world is watching for the change in you. You are the code. You are the hidden thinking pattern of the rich, the wise, and the masters of old. It was never about the accumulation of paper money, the accolades of status, or the fleeting applause of the crowd. It was always about the alignment. It was always about being. You have finally arrived at the only place that ever mattered, the realization of your own divinity, and the acceptance of the responsibility that comes with it. You are the bridge between the physical and the metaphysical, and your walk is a testament to the power of the conscious mind. So go. Live it. Command your reality with the quiet, unshakable authority of one who knows the truth. Stop asking for permission. You are the source. You are the architect. You are a success. The kingdom is within. It always has been. It always will be. You have finally come home to yourself. The journey was not about finding something new, it was about removing everything that was not you. Now, stand in the fullness of your power. The world is waiting for your next move. Do not let it wait a moment longer. You are the master of your destiny, and the masterpiece is only just beginning. Claim it, live it, and become the success you were always meant to be. Summary. The chapter cements the realization that the reader is the success code they were seeking, moving from intellectual understanding to total, lived embodiment. It serves as a final, high-impact call to action, urging the reader to embrace the discomfort of expansion as proof of their transformation rather than a sign of danger. It highlights the importance of the season of silence, between belief and manifestation, counseling the reader to remain faithful to their new frequency even when the physical world has yet to reflect it. It concludes with the empowering affirmation that the reader has moved from a seeker of success to the source of it, finally claiming their role as the conscious architect of their reality.